All right, Board. I call to order the Torch Lake Township Special Board Meeting of August 25th, 2023 at 3:05. Reviewing our housekeeping items. Board, when speaking, please move close to your microphone to ensure you are heard clearly for the YouTube streaming. And I request that citizens who speak to adjust the height and stand close to the
We
microphone.
don't have our mic.
We didn't put the mic up, we'll get it. Mike,
He's getting it.
Michael will get it. I will request all individuals speaking today to stay within the 3-minute time frame. Would appreciate everyone keeping their points concise. I would request that comments are made respectfully to the board and to each other. If you wish to comment, please fill out the form, which many of you have already done, and give it to the clerk. So the first item on our agenda is citizen comments, so we'll open it up for the citizens.
All righty. First card in was Greg Gordon.
Thanks, Mike.
Hello, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yes, my name is Greg Gordon. I live on Northwest Torch Lake Drive in between Barnes and McLaughlin. And I'm here to, as far as the board, give my opinion as far as the current speed limit. And I think there is definitely a safety issue. It is not zoned at any speed at this time, so I believe it's 55 is the designated speed limit. And I feel that based on a residential area that is our house is zoned at, it's extremely high. We do have a lot more citizens, I believe, on Northwest Torch Lake Drive because of the remote working, and that's my situation as well. I live here more than I ever have through the remote, and we love to go on walks on Northwest Torch Lake Drive, and it's very difficult between McLaughlin and Barnes because there are many blind areas in that particular zone. There's a lot of curves, there's a lot of hills, and we're constantly looking for traffic because of the fact that for safety purposes, I feel that they're just traveling a little too fast at 55.
Okay.
And when we do try to tell them to slow down, a lot of times they don't. They even go faster without respect. I know it's just not respect. And it's not our citizens, our residents. It's usually the construction people and things that are occurring along our particular area.
Yep.
And we just would like, again, I think it's a bus route. Again, we see dogs, pets, deer, there's the wildlife. We just think it's safer if it was lowered. I think I'll check my notes. Safety to residents is my main concern. We do have bicyclists. I think twice a year there's tours that go along Northwest Torch Lake Drive, and again, I think just the 55 at this time. Maybe back in the day it might have been adequate for 55, yep. But today I think based on the zoning and the population growth, I think it should be reduced.
Okay.
Thank you.
You can check our website for our last board meeting. I don't know if you watched it or not.
Not the last one, no.
If you go to, I think it's like around minute 43, a number of citizens also made comments associated with that. And they also expressed some of the history behind the effort that was undertaken a few years back to try to drop the rate, which was not successful. Mm-hmm. So it kind of will give you a little background that I didn't have before this came up.
Okay, so it's on video of the last.
Yep, go to our website and you'll see the video, the archived video for the August meeting.
Okay, and the discussion for today, was it also, was it another, since you just had one last week?
Yeah.
Today's discussion is associated.
I was looking at doing a motion today. When we get to the agenda, I'm going to try to table it because at this particular point, there's still some information coming out from other citizens, and prior to deciding exactly where we want this and how we want it, for instance, they're saying don't put it in curves based on before. I need to work with the county to see if in fact we can designate an area to put these things in.
Yeah, okay, so you're looking at local areas possibly
Right.
where there are curves. And yeah, that.
Well,
that-
less curves because you end up, I drove it this morning
Yeah,
and at 55, you're not taking those curves at 55, or if you are, there might be 2 tires, not 4.
yeah. See, they come down Barnes, as you know, Barnes, and
Yep.
the curve, you have to slow down to make that curve. And then they see this straightaway and it
Right.
becomes a drag strip almost. They just accelerate, you just hear them accelerate as they go by. our
Well,
house.
and then you get to McLaughlin and it's another big, long straightaway.
Another straightaway. Yes,
So
sir.
one of the things I was trying to figure out in the wording is how do we ask the county
Okay.
to look at specific areas? So after you pass McLaughlin, you got a straightaway. Now you got a lot of curves, but there's passing zones in each of those areas that alternates on the road. So I think we need to put a little more time into how we want to approach it and whether or not that will help us get to where we want to be.
That'd be great. Thank you very much.
All right,
Yeah,
very
thank
good.
you, yeah.
Thank you, Greg. Next.
Mr. Laidlaw, you ready now? Okay.
Well, Bruce, before you start, I just wanted to let the board know that you've been very helpful on Barnes Park and that I appreciate everything you've done for us.
Well, I'm happy to help.
Thank you.
I'm Bruce Laidlaw. We reside at 5103 Old Park Road, which is contiguous with Barnes Park. As I've mentioned to some of you, I've had concerns regarding the expansion of the campground at Barnes Park without the approval of the township or its zoning board of appeals or zoning administrator. I see on the agenda there is scheduled a closed session to discuss Barnes Park issue with the township attorney. I question the necessity of holding such a session as closed. I would request that the session be kept open and that any opinion from the township attorney be made available to the public.
Thank you, Bruce. Todd, I don't know if you'd like to respond to that. I believe your direction to me was that it's a board decision if we want to go into a closed session. So I'll conduct a vote of the board either to go in or stay here. Is that all right? Okay. Next.
Mr. Rubin.
Yeah, Jairus Rubin, County Commissioner. As you all know, I don't think anyone's denied the fact that the communication between Torch Lake Township and the county last year with our new Parks Director at that time, James Hunter, was not well. It was not good. Mistakes were made. I guess the comment I wanted to make is if there's a way that we can improve our communication between the county and the township, I would love to do that. I think I would be remiss if I did not say to the board that my other townships, which are Banks and Central Lake, would be unhappy with me if I did not express an opinion that if there was any way that we could communicate and work together going forward before we would delve into a possible lawsuit, because all taxpayers pay for attorney fees if there's a lawsuit involved, obviously. I've been on the health department for a couple of years now, and just last week we have another lawsuit that's been filed against the health department. And I've asked the question before, let's please have a discussion and communication. What does the plaintiff want, and is there a way that we could reach an agreement? Because taxpayer dollars will be spent and lawyer fees are expensive. I would also say that since all this went forward last year, we have a new county administrator. And one of the reasons that I voted for Jeremy Scott to be our new administrator is because of his promise, I guess, to the commissioners and to the public to try to improve communication at all levels. And I would have to say that I have seen many instances where that has improved. So I guess all I'm saying is we definitely made mistakes. I definitely think the township should have been communicated with earlier instead of later. And I always would want the county to work with the township, because I've always felt that the township government is the lowest, the most grassroots form of government that there is. And I just feel that you guys are the closest to the voters, so you are in touch with what the constituents want.
Thank you, Jairus. All right, Kath?
And then Bill Hefferon.
Thank you very much. My name is Bill Hefferon. I'm County Commissioner from District 1, which is just your southern neighbor
Gotcha.
of Milton Township and Elk Rapids.
Good to meet you, Bill.
And nice
Yeah.
to meet you as well. I was meeting with Jairus yesterday. He said there was a meeting today, and I thought it'd be a great opportunity for me to just come up and say hello. I echo what Jairus is saying. The county is the townships. We're
It
made up
is.
of the townships. And so it falls on us to communicate. It's all about communication. It's all about relationships. And anything I can do, if it's okay, if I can approach Mr.
Sure,
and,
absolutely. You've been in touch with Sarah.
I have.
Was Sarah working there?
Sarah and I work together. I'm still on the planning commission in Milton Township, and so Sarah is our zoning administrator in Milton, and so we have a relationship going back to
Yep.
quite a few years. Anyway, so that's my card. It's my cell phone number. It's my email address. Please feel free to reach out anytime if you have any questions or anything I can do from a county level at all. And again, I echo what Jairus is saying in regards to whatever happened at Barnes Park. There is not only a new administrator, there's really a new county board. I mean, there's only 5 of us now. There used to be 9. I'm the only new guy. Okay, the old guys have been nice to me, but I'm the only new guy. But again, primarily just wanted to make sure to put a face to a name, that you have my phone number.
So I have a real quick question
Yes.
for you. For the Southwest Torch Lake Drive that goes through Milton, I got a email from somebody that indicated that speed limit was being dropped to 25. How was that achieved?
The request has been to drop it to 25. That's why I was struck by, again, the commonalities, Bob,
Yep.
that we share with each other. We share Northwest Torch Lake Drive,
Right.
Milton Township and Torch Lake. And so when folks have problems with speed there, the folks who live in Milton have a problem with the speed on that road.
Right.
Southwest Torch Lake Drive, those folks came to us. It's currently 35. They came
Okay.
to Milton Township and asked Milton to not object to, if you will, to my words, a study to drop it to 25. It's my
Okay.
understanding the road commission is going to undertake that.
All right.
It is a little bit different than the folks on Northwest. We're all familiar with Southwest, even more congested down there.
Yep.
So not exact comparison, but again, I was struck by that. So that's the answer. Not done yet.
Not done
They're
yet.
pretty optimistic though. So,
All right. Very good.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Bill isn't an old one of the county. He's an old one of the county, but new to the county commissioners.
Yes, yes. So
You worked with county for
26 years. You and I used to work together. So yes, I was there a long time working in the probate court. So it's many of the same faces, familiar faces, just a different role for me now. So
Good. All right,
nice
Bill.
to meet you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. No
Is
other
that it?
sheets.
All right. Next item on the agenda is approval of the agenda. Board, since we don't have all the members here, we can't add any new business. Question I have is, based on my earlier comment, do we want to remove the speed item so that I can do some more research on that and maybe somehow find a way to piggyback off of what Milton has done and make it a coordinated effort, even if we're coming in a little late? Any objection to removing that item from the,
I have
I have no objection to removing it if we're not ready to discuss it, so.
No problem, Alan.
Yeah, if you're not ready, yeah,
Yep.
absolutely.
All right, so then I will make the motion to accept the agenda with changes. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Motion is made and seconded to approve the agenda with changes. All in favor, say aye. Oppose? Motion passes. Thank you, board. All right, moving on to new business. You have on your desk some documents which will be used in the closed session if you choose to go into the closed session. One of the documents is Peter Wendling's letter that he submitted to the county back on October 28th, 2022. We were requesting information at that time. If you recall, we were in the midst of listening to the expansion plans that they had. And so we took the initiative to send them a letter and ask them to provide us details. They did not provide us any details. They did not respond to the letter. In addition, last year, we advised them that the fire pits that they were placing in the middle area was not legal, and that they needed to come to us and express a request through our sourcing administrator. They did not do that. And as you know, this spring they put them in. I think I counted 17. I stopped there and I picked up one of their brochures, and they're actively advertising them, which also goes against what they said, which was it was used for overflow. I can't see it being used as overflow when they're advertising it as being available sites. So I talked to Todd regarding this. I also talked to Jeremy. You have a letter on your desk that Jeremy sent to us. It was conciliatory in nature. However, based on what they have done over the course of the last year, I still went to Todd and said, hey, based on this, what are our alternatives? And with that, Todd suggested that we go into closed session. So he has a legal opinion that he will be sharing with us. And so therefore, board, based on Bruce's comments, which are most appropriate, I will make the motion for the board to move into closed session to discuss a written legal opinion for the board's consideration. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All right, thank you, Alan. The motion has been moved and seconded to go into closed session. Discussion on the motion.
I have none.
Kathy?
No.
Alan? All right. No discussion, then Kathy, we will move for a roll call vote, please.
Absolutely. Ms. Schultz?
Yes.
I'll go with myself, yes. Mr. Martell
Yes.
and Mr. Cook.
Yes. All right, board, thank you. We will now move to closed session. We'll go to the small conference room.
It is 3:23.
Thank you, Sharon. Bring your packets of information.
You want to tell the people what will happen? We're going to close session and we come back so they know what happens.
Yeah, we will go in and have a general discussion, then we will come back and we will discuss any action that we may want to take. So you're free to sit and wait. I don't have an idea of how long it will be, but we will be coming back here and coming out of closed session into an open session, and we will have our discussions then. All set? All right. Board, you want to turn your mics on? Thank you. So Board, I will make the motion to come out of closed session. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. It is moved and seconded to come out of closed session. Any
407.
407.
any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, Kathy, would you have a roll call vote, please?
I will. I'll start at the other end. Alan,
Yes?
Mr. Cook,
Yes.
Ms. Schultz,
Yes.
and myself, yes.
All right, thank you, Board. Just to bring everybody up to date, I will be having that meeting with Jeremy, Scott, and with Terry Van Alstyne on September 5th at the county building at 9 a.m. And so in order to present what the township is looking for in dealing with Barnes Park, I will take your ideas as to the things that we want to achieve in order to move forward with the county as it relates to our zoning ordinances with Barnes Park. So I will take your suggestions and ideas.
I would say we need for them to agree that township ordinances do take precedence over their action.
All right, that they're responsible.
Zoning ordinances,
Yeah.
I probably should say.
Need to adhere to our zoning ordinances.
Yep. I guess because in the past, they didn't think they needed to, and now,
Didn't appear to, did they?
yeah, and that's not right, so we need them to agree that they do need to follow
All
our
right.
zoning.
Do you want parts of that zoning ordinance?
However you want me to look at it, Alan.
Well, what I'm afraid of is I'll miss something. But generally under, I don't know if you want to put this in or not, but the non-conforming uses and the expansion of non-conforming uses section of our zoning ordinance, section 4.03, is one area that they are in violation of. They were legal non-conforming at a minimum when the ordinance came into effect in 1983. They are currently located in Timber Reserve, and the Timber Reserve section has specific things that can be done in a Timber Reserve section, but one of them that's very specific and very important is under section Timber Reserve section 1102B with regard to that the activity should have no adverse impact on the natural environment. But it does allow things like hiking or skiing or snowmobiling kinds of activities. But again, I don't know if that's related to a benefit to the campers, and is that expansion of the park activity? I don't know, but it's surely something that should be questioned and looked at. There are no special uses for campgrounds in Timber Reserve, and never have been when it was originally called environmental. And that's all I can think of at this point.
Well, we also want to look at section 5.03, which relates to, which is something that Sarah pointed out, was the erection and alternation and use of buildings. They put
yes.
buildings up there that had not been brought to the township for approval. Sharon, thoughts?
Well, they can't expand, without permission. I think we've covered all that in there, without getting the proper permitting. I think they need to adhere to what the township board and the residents of the community have spoken in the past. We've had numerous meetings and so forth. So we need to have a better communication, adhered to everybody's point of view.
I seem to remember some complaints. It seemed like citizens, they had the big meeting last year, I think, about this time, when they walked us around and showed what they were going to do. And I thought the meeting, I'm not sure it was that constructive, in the sense that people were saying you shouldn't be allowed or shouldn't be expanding it, and they were pointing out all the reasons why they could. I think that was during Hunter's term.
Mhm.
So it's the idea, if you're going to have meetings, make it a two-way conversation, not a one-way.
They need to have, if they're doing things, they need to certainly have public, a meeting to the public, because there was no meeting to the public at all. And when we asked at that time, when was the public hearing on this, or public input or comment, he says, well, we're doing it right now. So communication was lacking for sure.
So better communication with the township board and the community. Open and transparent, the magical words. One that I put down, I am concerned in looking at the existing map, that in fact, much of this growth occurred after 1983, when our zoning ordinances went in place. I think that we should request a complete set of their documents associated with the park from its creation, if you will. And that I want to establish how many campgrounds were there in 1983 when our ordinance went into effect.
Campsites.
Campsites, tent sites, any area that was designated as camping. Now, we understand that it appears sometimes, but we don't have the full picture, that they may have 2 or 3 tents on a site. That may be the same family, that may be different families. I'm not sure we're in a position to designate that. One of the other critical areas, I want to understand how they've come up through the financial analysis for their for the rental costs. You know, they're charging $35 for an electrical site, $25 for a rustic site. And I'm wondering why, since we know that these folks are trying to make a lot of money on this thing, they're not charging more money. So one of the facts that I would like to understand is, how are they coming up with their charging? My understanding is campsites in other areas are getting much higher rates than that. And we know their interest is trying to make this one of their money makers to pay for their other parks. So the question is, why get it by expanding the park? Why not keep the park where it is and adjust the pricing accordingly? So that's knowing what went on behind those decisions gives me some insight as to why it's staying at $35 for a night. When you have a lake and you have access to the beaches there, it just seems to me it's a unique, it's a great site, and there ought to be some value associated with that.
Would it be appropriate too for the township to request them to have, not that they don't have the rules in place, but the communication of their rules to their campers? For example, private property, they probably have a noise, well, how do you describe that? You know, quiet time starts at,
They have,
You know,
they have policies on that.
Yeah, they have that.
They have all those policies.
I think they put some signs up last year, because that was one of the complaints, I think, in one of the meetings, and I think they
was
put some,
noise.
well, they put signs associated, the park ends here, and I think they also put something down at the beach that states, you know, the park ends here, the rest is private, except the water's edge, I think.
Is not, right?
But I'd have to go back and look and see if it's still there, or,
Well, they
what?
could have policies about all of it, but if they're not communicating that to their campers,
I can ask
you
that.
know?
Well, it has you have ingress and egress along the beach. You can't stop and have beach activities, but you can walk the beach. You can walk to the Mackinac Bridge if you wish.
Right,
legally.
but some of the people, for instance, in our nature preserve, people complain about the fact that people hike and then they go up on the grass. That is private property. The idea is to try to make sure the campers understand what's
Yeah.
right and what's wrong. All right, so we have agreed that they are to adhere to our zoning ordinances, that they have to abide by the 4.03, 5.03, Article 11, and Section 19.02A as our zoning ordinances pertaining to the timberland. There can be no expansion without going through the process of the zoning administrator. There are no special use permits in our campgrounds, so they need to understand that they would have to, whatever the rules are that they want to come by, there aren't any special uses that they can apply for. Better communication, both at a community level and a township board level. I want the establishment of the initial capacity in 1983.
Yep, yep, yep.
And I want to understand the costs and revenue calculations in establishing the rental rates.
You've included that entire section of non-conforming uses, 4.03. That's in the entire section?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Because that was what the
Yep.
section was
Very
that
clear, yep.
Sarah told us to make sure of. And then proper signage in communication of the rules and where private property is to restrain from going on it, I
Do we have a
guess.
time frame on all this for them to establish this?
Well,
I know
I
summer's
guess the
almost
one-
over with now,
yeah,
but I think we
So-
need to
Well,
set some
you're gonna
rules.
present this at your meeting, right?
yeah. So the one item that we're going to say is that at the end of this camp season, no later than what I would say 12/31/23, all campsites in the open area, as defined in their brochure here, which were coded as brown,
Mhm.
be removed.
They close, right,
Yes,
for the winter months?
They do.
Yes.
I mean, the access is still open. I think they leave the gate
don't-
open
They
because
don't
But
people
plow it,
don't-
still
though,
walk.
do
they don't plow it.
They
Right.
don't plow it.
County
right.
turns around down there, but that's about it.
All right, board, and anything else?
So what if they don't adhere to this?
Or don't agree.
Or-
right?
Well,
Yeah.
If they don't adhere to this, our only course of action will be a lawsuit. And our effort is to ensure we don't get to that point. I will work hard to stress the fact that this has been going on for a while and that we need these types of things, safeguards, to ensure, and if not, then we will proceed with the necessary action in court to present our case accordingly.
Indeed.
Nope. You can do citizen comment. Anything else, board? All right, well then, I would like to make a motion,
That's right.
and it's a draft, so we can we can work at, but the motion to allow the supervisor to present requirements to Antrim County with regards to Barnes Park at his September 5th meeting and as outlined by the board during discussion. And if the items are not met, the board authorizes the supervisor to direct the township attorney to file a lawsuit against Antrim County for violation of township zoning ordinances.
Did you make
Is
that
that
motion?
meeting without attorneys?
That meeting is without attorneys.
Okay.
Any changes to that motion?
Sounds good.
All right, do I have a second for the motion?
I'll second.
Thank you. So it's been moved and seconded to allow the supervisor to present requirements to Antrim County with regards to Barnes Park at his September 5th meeting as outlined in board discussion. And if the items are not met, the board authorizes the supervisor to direct the township attorney to file a lawsuit against Antrim County for violation of township zoning ordinances.
Do we want it to say if they're not met, or do we want to say if they don't agree to what we're proposing?
I would say it's
You-
probably one and the same. If they
Okay,
can
'cause
agree
your
to
word-
it,
You're agreed,
they can agree to it and not do it. I think Met gives a stronger meaning to it. They have to meet them. If they can agree to them and take 3 years to do it. Do you want to put a time frame in it?
Well, Matt, we won't know till next year whether they remove the campsites or, so,
Well, think we want to say if they meet it, then that would be probably in an agreement between us and the county. I can add other words. Remember, it's a draft, so
Right.
don't worry with wordsmithing.
Did you, one question I did have.
Yep.
In that motion, you're going to agree in writing, you're asking them to agree in writing to these conditions. Is that correct?
Nope.
Yeah, I was
didn't
going to say,
put-
I was
didn't
going to say, put that
that.
in writing because
Don't mind.
otherwise we have nothing to grab onto.
And agree in writing to the conditions. So it would read, motion to allow the supervisor to present requirements to Antrim County with regards to Barnes Park at his September 5th meeting as outlined in board discussion, and obtain agreement in writing to the conditions. And if the items are not met, if the items are not agreed to, the board authorizes the supervisor to direct the township attorney to file a lawsuit against Antrim County for violation of township zoning ordinances.
Okay.
ding, 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 ding.
Do you want to read it one more time in full
Yep.
then, please?
Yeah. The motion to allow the supervisor to present requirements to Antrim County with regards to Barnes Park at his September 5th meeting as outlined in board discussion, and obtain agreement in writing to the conditions, and if the items are not agreed to, the board authorizes supervisor to direct the township attorney to file a lawsuit against Antrim County for violation of township zoning ordinances.
The only thing I question is, did you come to us before you made that decision,
That's up to you.
the result of your meeting?
We can do that. If they don't agree to the conditions, would you still approve? Would you agree to whatever conditions they do? I'm just wondering if
Go
in
ahead.
fact, we have our set, which we've gone through. If they don't meet them, they could very well come back and say, hey, we'll propose the following. But if they just flat out say, hey, we're not doing this, you really want to discuss that any further? It's just a question.
No,
If they come back and say, hey, let's think about it and we'll come back with our answer, then
Then
At
we'll
that
have an
point,
answer
then-
at that time.
yeah, we'll
Then
wait
we'll
for their
discuss.
answer.
We'll discuss their answer.
So we're negotiating a little bit. Okay,
Yeah.
that's fine.
Yeah.
That's okay, yep.
I just want to put it, I want to make it definitive that at least unless we get an agreement in writing, we're going to court.
All right, I like that.
All right?
Mhm.
All right, board, motions has been made, seconded with changes. Are the changes acceptable to the second?
yes,
All right. Then Kathy, would you do a roll call vote, please?
I will. I'll
Okay.
start with myself. Yes.
Okay?
Ms. Schultz,
Yes.
Mr. Martell,
Yes,
and Mr. Cook.
Yes. All right, board. That completes our new business as we changed our agenda. I'll open it up for public comment. Hang on. Yeah, there's a button there on top.
Laura Anderson, 2067 San Marino Trail. Can you hear me?
Closer.
So Laura Anderson,
Yep.
2067 San Marino Trail. I just had a question. I thought that the zoning ordinance allowed for an option to come to the township for an expanded use of a non-use property, expansion of a, I'm sorry, not non-use, but a expansion of a non-conforming use. Have they exercised that option in terms of the additional campsites, or is that not an option for them?
In Timberland, there's a specific section. I can go back and look at it, but it stated that there wasn't a special use for the
But this isn't-
Timberland area.
But this isn't special use, but expansion of a non-conforming use.
Well,
there's,
I would take that question to the zoning administrator.
Thank
can
you.
Send her an email. And copy me on it, please. All right? Any,
Laura, take a look at section 403 when you have a chance, under non-conforming use in the current zoning ordinance. And I think it'll help you with that expansion of a use.
all right, board comment? Sharon?
I have none.
Kathy?
Not, no, not, gosh, no, not tonight, apparently.
All right.
I have none.
All right, and I just want to
Uh,
thank the board for your work today. Thank you, and for the citizens who came. And so I will make the motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
I will second it at 4:31.
Thank you, Sharon. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Meeting's adjourned.